So hey, name's Aisha. This is my YouTube channel. I'll be talking about art, myself, things I'm interested in. It's really just whatever. It's usually gonna be something creative. Um, so today I really just wanted to talk about what I've been going through in terms of animating. I really have been struggling as an animator for the last like couple of years, and it really got exacerbated by the time I was in like 2021, like most of actually 2021. I was just over it. I was just over being an animator, and I just kind of want to talk about that experience a little bit, just to like be a voice to that type of anxiety you can build up in trying to be successful, trying to get into the industry, and then not being successful in that, and affecting your whole entire being. It affects how you feel about yourself, about your art, about your ability to learn, to be talented. Um, I just wanted to talk about those things because I think it's kind of important, and I feel like it's really hard for a lot of people to reconcile with the idea that like not everybody makes it, and then on top of that, like you can work hard, you can do everything you think you're supposed to do, and that doesn't really mean anything at the end of the day. I think it's a really hard lesson for a lot of us to learn, and I think it's something we need to talk about a bit more. And I'm just going to let my experiences be that conversation. For me, I was in college in 2014 to 2018, and when I graduated, I was nowhere near prepared to be in the industry. I barely had any animating experience. I wasn't able to get any internships. Overall, my experience trying to get in the industry has ended in failure almost every time. And that was really rough for me. That was extremely rough for me to experience that type of rejection constantly for something that I felt like was the only thing I could do well, or even do something that I really just wanted to do in general. It was the only thing I looked forward to. Not only that, but because of the lack of support that was coming from my own home, from my family, the people I felt like should be supporting me, but weren't able to because they felt like I wasn't going to be successful, and the constant comparisons I would get from my older sister, who was also an artist, it was very stressful. It was very anxiety driven. In all my attempts to be a better artist, to be a better animator, a lot of that fell short because of that anxiety, because of the stress of feeling like I had to prove myself, not just to my family, not even just to myself, but a lot to like others. Like it wasn't really about me, it was about everybody else but me. And my animation became a source of my anxiety. Like it just was so hard to want to animate, to even have ideas and then try to write it out or try to draw it out. It was hard. It was hard. It didn't stop me completely from animating, but it did stop me a lot of times. And it's embarrassing to say that now because it feels like a lot of my college experience wasn't spent on actually working on animation. Because of course I took other classes, and a lot of the classes I took in college were not art, like they were art related, but they weren't animation related. I think I took about 3 classes. It was all like in my last semester, honestly, that was about animation. Everything else wasn't. And I didn't even do animation for my thesis because it wasn't something I could really do in that short amount of time. And I really didn't have any ideas. I think I was also very frustrated and miserable when I graduated because I realized like I wasted like $30,000 of my time and money on an education that can't really do anything for me. And that was so devastating. That just blew me out of the water. Like I never felt the same after that, and I definitely have a disdain for college because I wasted a lot of my time in college. Now granted, I had great experiences outside of my education, but I mean, I didn't go to college for experiences. Like that wasn't important to me. I went to college because I wanted to do something I knew I couldn't do on my own. And unfortunately, a lot of what I learned about animation was stuff I taught myself, stuff I went and seeked for myself. I networked, I connected, I went to different like organizations. I went to different discords. I joined different programs. I did a bunch of stuff, and I worked even harder in 2020 and 2019 to build up something that I could feel like this is what I need to do. This is where I need to go. This is how I'm going to do it. And I did what everyone was telling me to do. Oh, you need to do this, so you need to do that. And I was looking at all these different programs to animate in. I was trying those different programs. I was putting a lot of money and time and effort into trying to be a better animator in every way I could think of. And I wasn't spending a lot of time on animating for myself, though. A lot of what I was doing was working as a freelance artist. I was working as a freelance animator for like three, maybe I would say 5 years in total, but really 3 of those years was me actively getting work for my freelance. And the most active years was like 2020 and 2021. These were great years for me in terms of freelance work, but it were horrible, abysmal for my self-esteem, for my mental health, for my like passion for animation. It literally fizzled in 2021, where I really had to sit there and like think about what I wanted to do in the future, because this just wasn't working. Nothing was working really. It was getting hard. It was getting hard because I was putting a lot of my worth and my value into this career that I was trying to build for myself. And it really wasn't working out for me the way I thought it would. My animation still wasn't at the level that I think it needed to be a part of the industry. And the rejections I would constantly got, no matter what it was, if it was internships, if it was like entry level, it didn't really matter. I was not getting those jobs. And that was tough. I was constantly upset. I just felt like nothing I was doing mattered anymore, because I didn't know what I wanted to do in my life, and I felt like I needed something to live for. And I put that on work. And I think that's because I saw my mom working a lot, so I thought I had to work too. Like, I kind of internalized that without really realizing it. But in 2021, I was at rock bottom. I had no job because of COVID, and I was in the house all the time, and all I had was that freelance work. And I was slowly starting to realize that no matter what I do and no matter how hard I work, no matter even how successful I am at freelance animation, I still am not at the level to work with like Disney or to work with like, Cartoon Network or anything like that. Even though I don't really want to work with Disney, I wanted to work with Cartoon Network. That was my goal. But any studio that I was applying to, I was still getting rejected, regardless if they were like a studio that deals with TV production versus like just advertising. I was still getting rejections, and it was embarrassing, honestly. If I felt embarrassed, I felt ashamed of anything I could call this a skill. Like, in my mind, I was like, I must not be a good animator. I must be really bad at this, because that's why everyone is rejecting me. Like, I'm not that good, and I don't even know why I bother most of the time. But my friends would always encourage me. They would always be like, yeah, I think your stuff is actually really good. I think what you're doing is amazing. I understand how hard animation is, and you're still doing it. And I just was like, yeah, but like, y'all my friends. Like, if you didn't say that shit, I don't know. I don't know. Like, I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that I was really successful. I couldn't believe that I was actually doing anything. And I kept looking back at those years in college, and instead of getting upset about what I didn't learn, I started to get upset with how I was learning animation and how much anxiety I was building into that process. And I realized like animation isn't really my dream anymore. My dream now is for validation, not just from my family anymore, but just from work. Like, people hire me, somehow validates me as a person, that my skills and effort are worth noticing. And that wasn't healthy. That wasn't healthy. And it was sad that I was in that mental state, that I really think I needed the validation of companies like Cartoon Network and Disney to tell me whether I was good enough or not. not even just good enough as an animator, but good enough as an artist, that my efforts were worth something. They were worth something because I was definitely learning on my own about plenty of things, but it became more about just that validation that I needed, that pat on the back to tell me that you've done all you could. If it's not gonna work, it's not gonna work. And I couldn't get that validation from my friends because I couldn't really believe in what they were saying. I couldn't get that validation from my partner because I couldn't believe what he was saying. So, and I wasn't getting that validation from my family. So I had to give that validation to myself. And I decided that I was going to stop animating. Like, this last project is going to be it for the rest of whenever I decide to go back to it. I took down a lot of my freelance, like advertising or anything like that. Anybody, I think I had a friend come ask me about whether I would be willing to freelance or not. And I just told them, like, no, I can't. I can't do it. You know, I learned, I basically learned how to carry myself a little bit better when I deal with my art. This is what 2022 is for me. It's basically learning how to enjoy my art again, because I realized I spent several years not enjoying my art. I just couldn't even enjoy it because I was so busy trying to fast track my success so I can get on those different, like, I could get the career job, I could get the money and everything that comes with it, the benefits, the prestige. And I didn't really need any of that. And I still don't need it really. I think I'm finally come to terms with the fact that this isn't for me. That being a part of the industry is not for me. And it's not just because I'm not worthy of it or I'm not good enough. It's because, like, this shit was driving me crazy for like several years, trying to prove myself. And it became less about me being an animator and more about me trying to get validation from a company. In the midst of capitalism, what are we doing here? No, like, we're not doing that. So for me, I just kind of learned, like, I'm not going to waste my time anymore trying to find validation in places that is unnecessary. Like, I have to learn how to take care of myself and respect myself enough to know that, like, no matter what these companies are doing, I'm still here and I'm still going to be doing what I want to do. And I'm going to have to find stuff outside of animation that works for me. Since 2021, I've pretty much given up on the idea of being a part of the industry. I've given up on the idea of being a part of animation in any real big way. I think I just like to animate for myself. I like to add my little flares. I like to add my stylings. And I keep trying to figure out different places I could fit into, different companies or different, like, industries that would work for me. And I usually backtrack out of it because it's like I don't really fit into this stuff, and it's hard for me to try to squeeze myself in that, conform myself into this one thing, and it's really hard. It's not something I think is healthy for me to continue to attempt. I think there are some things I would love to do that would be fun for me. Like, I've been thinking about the like children's books, and not really children's books, but more like graphic novels and stuff for like older kids, like middle school to teenagers. But, if I don't make that, it's whatever. I'm not desperate anymore for the attention of strangers in the same way I was before. Uh, I'd like to say I was very young and stupid at the time, but I was like, that was a year ago. So, your girl is 26 now. So I guess I was young and dumb at 25. But it's a different time and it's a different me. And I think that 2021 gave me that room to, like, really reflect on my behavior and how I've been treating these things. I'm very fortunate now to be around people who truly care about me, and I can recognize that a lot better than where I was in 2021. Like, I'm worthy of love. I recognize that, you know, the people around me love me and care about me, and I love them. And they validate me in a more healthier way, like just by supporting me. The things that I wanted before, I basically have now. And I'm realizing that like I have my whole life to figure out what I want. And what I want is to be happy and to be comfortable. And I'm going to figure out something. But I think that figuring out for myself and not trying to conform to any like company standard is better for my mental health, because I see that as a trigger for myself. That's something that I like to conform. I like to figure out things, and it's not healthy. It's not for me. But that doesn't mean that for any of you who've had a similar experience, for any of you who feel like you're just not going to get in the industry and there's everything you've done doesn't work, it's okay. It's literally okay, because you have your whole life ahead of you. There are other things that you may be interested in that you're better at handling, better at composing together. It doesn't have to be animation. There are plenty of things for you to be interested in and get involved in. Right now, my current job, I'm a screen printer. That's what I do. And I just started this job. Like, I've never even screen printed before. Like, I have a printmaking background from my like other college. Like, I went to two different colleges, but I didn't think I would be doing screen printing, which is a actually decent job. Like, yeah, it's hard work, but like it's way better than retail, I'll tell you that. And I'm feel better being at this job, considering that there was a lot of stuff happening before at my old job that I was experiencing for myself. And it's not like my job was terrible, but it was just like emotionally I was going through a lot. And this job helps quell that. It gives me the stability that I need, the mental health checks that I could do for myself now that I have benefits. I am in a better place than where I was like a couple months ago to literally a year ago, because I'm constantly trying to take care of myself. And yeah, like just take care of yourself. You don't really have to prove anything to anybody. And if you don't make it, you just don't. It's not a bad thing if you're not successful in this one thing. Like you're literally, some of y'all might be like 16, some of y'all might be like 20, or you might be the same age as me. You might be even older. So what? Like, you have still the rest of your life to figure out other things that you may be interested in, other things you may be better at. Maybe something else is out there for you, but you have to figure that out for yourself. Don't give up on yourself because this one thing didn't work. Something that my friend and I discussed once we graduated that I do think about from time to time is that your hard work absolutely means nothing. Meritocracy is not a real thing, and you will be working yourself to the bone for the rest of your life without really understanding that like life is not just going to give you things just because you work hard. Some people are successful and benefit from their hard work. Other people do not. Lots of people work hard. Like, let's be honest, we are in a society that works hard. Like, I don't really believe in the concept of like there's just lazy people out there and there's just a million of them. That's not how society works, and most people are not lazy. People work hard, but they get tired. And getting burnt out is worse than just like, maybe you need a couple of days to yourself. Maybe you're working on yourself on the side and you need some time for yourself. Being burnt out means that you can't even continue anymore. Like, you literally need to stop cold turkey, just like move on from that situation. And you don't want to be burnt out. I think a lot of people get burnt out with animation as it is, even if they're in the industry. So please work on yourself. Figure out what works for you. And if something is not looking like they're going to work out for you and you're just not that confident anymore in it, take a break. Walk away. Assess what works for you. Please just work on yourself. So, yeah, so that's all I have to say. I know that was a lot. I know that there's like this blue glare on my eyes. I know you can't see my eyes. But that's it. That's all I have to say. I'm really glad that I'm starting to make videos again. I just kind of want to try a different direction with my art career because I've been thinking about it a lot more. And I'm excited to talk a little bit more. I don't know what I'm going to talk about. This just popped into my head. I mean, it's been there, but this just popped into my head as an idea. But I hope that that was helpful, and I hope that my story does encourage people to think a little bit more about what success really looks like to you. And yeah, that's it. Bye.